Wendy just came up to me and was acting all hurt because she thinks I don't care about her. Uh-huh. When she said that she wishes I would reply to her text the way that Clyde responds to Bebe, so, like, how do you do it? Chat GPT, dude.
ChatGPT is all the rage, and in pure South Park fashion, Matt Stone and Trey Parker thought it would be a very fun and very good idea to use it to write an entire episode with it. So that's exactly what they ended up doing, and what came out of it is an entire story talking about how ChatGPT can not only be used to cheat your way through an essay, for example, but also in your relationships. Deep Learning is an episode of Stan Marsh having problems with his relationship, more specifically communicating to his girlfriend over text messages. After having a little chat with her, Stan would have to figure out a way to improve his communication, which is where the horrible AI of ChatGPT comes into play. Now, in case you haven't heard yet, ChatGPT gives users information about quite literally any subject that you can possibly imagine. And the way it's built makes it possible for it to remember what questions you've sent to it and what answers you've already received. It's kind of difficult for me to properly explain how exactly it works and what it does. So let me give you a little example. This one time I actually wanted to test this thing out for myself. So I started a conversation about building the Linux kernel as well as a whole distribution. And I was amazed by the results that it gave me. What ChatGPT gives is basically a small summary of a specific subject. So it would be relatively short while still containing a lot of information. Though it doesn't really contain that much information. As in, it doesn't have an entire PDF worth of information. And as such, Matt Stone and Trey Parker figured it would be very possible to write an entire episode with this. The idea of that sounds pretty cool, and the fact that it could be possible thanks to ChatGPT is really neat, especially to me as a tech guy. For shits and giggles, I actually wanted to ask ChatGPT for ideas to write a Koen's Corner on fantasy movies. And it literally came up with a bunch of ideas for chapters and topics that I could discuss in such a video. These are some suggestions I've gone for it. So yeah, I think it could be used to write a pretty decent script with it. Now, this is not something that I ever wanted to do myself. This was just a quick little test that I wanted to do to see what kind of stuff ChatGPT would come up with. That being said, you would have to actually be competent enough to be able to write a proper script out of something that ChatGPT spits out at you. A quality that Matt Stone and Trey Parker have lacked for the better part of 5 seasons now. As much as I wish I was joking, that is sadly not the case here. What frustrates me most about this entire episode is the way that it bastardized multiple characters in one single episode, and how it portrays Stan's relationship with Wendy Testerberger, his girlfriend. I would care less if these two were simply having communication problems and work a whole episode into fixing those problems. I know all too well what it's like to have a couple of problems with communicating with my girlfriend. I certainly had a couple of problems with that myself. Like, there have been several occasions where I just did not know how to probably talk to her, and I was just completely frozen, and yeah, you get the idea. Unfortunately, Stan is not allowed to be written properly anymore, it seems. Instead of actually working out his communication problems along with Wendy, he resorts to using ChatGPT to route out his messages to Wendy for him, which, by the way, he learns about thanks to Clyde, who also uses ChatGPT in this exact same manner, because he doesn't want to deal with that bitch. His words, not mine. The episode simply deems it a waste of time to communicate with your partner like a human being and encourages you to use the lazy route, no matter how hard it's going to bite you in the ass. There is no way to sugarcoat this. There is no way to glance over it. This is literally what the episode implies. This is literally what happens. With everyone who used ChatGPT for the wrong reasons getting away with it, and everybody having learned literally nothing from it. Now look, I will openly admit that most of my frustration comes from a place of bias. I'm in a relationship myself, and it's extremely important to me that every single word I say to my girlfriend comes from the heart, not from AI. Because, newsflash, Love is not worth a single penny if you're not putting your heart into it and instead let AI write it out for you. Not only the fact that ChatGPT is utilized in such a bad way, Stan's entire characterization is among the worst I've ever seen on this show. Stan quite literally doesn't seem to be giving a shit about anything Wendy has to tell him whatsoever. In the beginning in the episode, all he does is give Wendy thumbs up emojis before he resorts to using ChatGPT to write his messages for him. And when Wendy takes him out on a date, he seems to be completely disinterested in being there, which makes absolutely no sense to me. You see, Wendy for a good chunk of the series was the girl of Stan's dreams. For a while, he always wanted to be together with her, and the two of them made a very cute couple for the longest time. And if you've seen these two together, you know just how much Wendy means to Stan. The dude was literally heartbroken when he had lost her in Raisins, and Tolkien just took her from him. All that makes me wonder what the hell happened here. Besides, you know, the excuse that AI wrote this entire script. When did Stan become this emotionless? I'm well aware that Stan doesn't have the easiest life being integrity farms, not to mention all the shit that he's had to endure through the entire series. And depression can take a big toll on your emotions. But Stan never lacked this much emotion. Have we forgotten about Stan literally crying in Pandemic Special because he wanted so badly for his life to turn back to normal again in South Park without COVID-19? Have we forgotten about all of the other shit that Stan has to go through? Have we forgotten that Stan is an actual human being with actual human emotions?
God, shut up! Everyone just shut the up!
For all of the previously mentioned reasons, Deep Learning is not a good episode by any stretch of the imagination. Purely because of how it handles Stan and Wendy's relationship and how it implements ChatGPT in there. It would have been one thing if they were to just use it to write essays and such, but that's not what we ended up getting. Instead, we got this abomination of a love story. I feel like I should acknowledge that there's technically far worse episodes out there, with some of them causing entire once respected characters to get killed off because the voice actor didn't agree with the certain things that were being said in the show. This is the same show that made fun of Osama bin Laden. This is the show that had Gerald Blavatsky turn himself into a literal dolphin. Pandemic Special acknowledges face masks as chin diapers. But at the very least, I can say that all of those things make sense in the episodes that they appear in, and they at the very least make sense within the show that they are in. No such thing could be said for this, which takes the most sympathetic character in all of South Park and completely bastardizes it. This is not the Stan Marsh I know, and he deserves much better than what he's being portrayed as here. And as a massive Stan Marsh fan, that's something I'm truly sad to say.